Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we have another tier list, and I am going to be going over the biggest moments in MMA that have occurred in the year of 2023. This has been, quite possibly, the best year for the UFC in MMA history. Honestly, outside of like the founding of the sport, the amount of crazy stuff that have occurred this year, like new MMA fans have been spoiled this year, and I have cataloged the biggest things in my mind and put them into a tier list. E tier being the worst, I guess, but they're all crazy things that happened. And S tier being, in my opinion, I can't stress that enough, the biggest thing that has occurred in the sport of MMA in the year of 2023. But before we begin, please consider a like, subscribe. If you subscribe, hit the bell icon. Really helps me in the algorithm. We are at 1,500 subscribers. We were at 400 at the end of November. That's crazy to me, and I'm looking to build this for the entirety of 2024. Maybe get to 20,000, maybe compete with Lucas Tracy, but that's the crazy side of me. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Now, I have it written down right here, and this is in absolutely no particular order. These just came to me, and then I'm going to put them into a tier list for you. Number one, and I think this is the perfect way to start it, the Jon Jones Return. Even if you don't like Jon, you kind of have to give it to him that this is one of the most badass returns to the octagon we've ever seen. You had the MMA guru pick against him and choose Cyril Gane to win. And I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason I picked Jon Jones is because I grew up watching Jon Jones. I had an action figure of the dude. So how am I going to choose against him? But I admit, on paper, this didn't look good for Jon. Understand that at this moment in time, we didn't know that Cyril Gane was horrifically one-dimensional. He arguably beat FrancisZanu, who was the champion of the division. Jon Jones arguably should have lost to Dominic Reyes, and we saw what happened to Dominic Reyes, so I was worried for Jon. Jon takes 2 years off to build weight like he should, goes to heavyweight, and wins the fight in round one. Now, this is, without doubt, an A tier in my opinion, because this is one of the few moments this year that I actively screamed at 1 o'clock in the morning alone in my room while watching the pay-per-view that I 100% paid for. You should too. But it really is one of the craziest moments in all of 2023. And it's an A tier, not even a question. The next thing I got, Sean O'Malley became champion. I could end it right there. I said this on my TikTok, if you're coming from there. Howdy. But what people don't understand is just how big of an event that is. O'Malley becoming champion isn't just crazy because of the way he did it. The shot-for-shot remake of the KO of Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo. That's not the reason that it's crazy. But it will change the trajectory of bantamweight. It will. Because look at the viewership of bantamweight when Aljamain first challenged for the title against Petr Yan. Extremely talented fighters. Now look at that viewership compared to O'Malley. And I know somebody in the comment section is going to say, well, Aljamain brought some numbers. I know Aljamain brought some numbers, but are you really going to tell me that O'Malley wasn't bringing most of it? And O'Malley becoming champion is going to bring the marketing dollars, the pay-per-view numbers to that division, even if you don't like the dude. He is exponentially more marketable than Aljamain ever was. That's just a fact. I think Aljamain is vastly disrespected. Doesn't change the fact that you can sell O'Malley way better. And the amount of contenders that are coming up in bantamweight, the Song Yadongs, the Chio Veras, like, those are going to be the guys that are going to reap the rewards from this, because those are the guys that are going to get a lot of the marketing from there, especially if they beat them. Sean O'Malley's A tier. Oh, Sean O'Malley becoming champion, A tier without a doubt. Next thing on the list, the Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski saga. Now, I understand that I could have made these two separate things, but I want to keep myself honest. I'm just going to be going over the whole saga. Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski 1 is going to be fight of the year. If it isn't, I will be surprised. You had the number 2 best MMA fighter in the world versus the number 1 pound for pound king in Volkanovski. One of the few times that that's actually happened, and it happens with Islam Makhachev going into enemy territory to fight Volkanovski. And this is something, like, the amount of time it took up to build up this storyline was insane. And I think one reason that this fight is so big in our minds is just about everybody looked at this fight and said to themselves, well, Brian Ortega almost submitted Volkanovski, so imagine what Islam Makhachev will do to him. Boy, were we wrong, because that turned out to be one of the best fights of the entire year, if not the greatest fight of the entire year. Now, if we go for the second half of that saga, the only complaint that I have about this is the second fight, Volkanovski fought on 10 days' notice. He didn't look himself. Both weighing in and for the fight, he did not look himself. And at the end of the day, Islam Makhachev should be the pound-for-pound best fighter in the UFC because he has 2 wins over the guy. He should have been pound-for-pound number 1 when he beat him the first time. So, I'm not taking that away from him. But let's not pretend like he fought the best version of Volkanovski he ever could in the second fight. But it's still A tier. The next thing that we're going to be going over is Pereira becoming the light heavyweight champion. Understand that he was able to become the middleweight champion, beating the second best middleweight of all time in Israel Adesanya, beat the current champion of middleweight in Sean Strickland, beats the former champion in Jan Blachowicz for the his light heavyweight debut, same as Adesanya, was able to beat him, beats Yuri Prohaska, another former champion, and wins the belt. Like, that is crazy. I understand that sounds like an Alex Pereira glaze, and I don't even care. If you can't give Alex Pereira the credit he deserves for being able to do that, I don't know what to tell you. Now, is it the biggest thing that happened this year? No. It is one of the best things that happened this year. In any other year, this would be an A tier. But because of how stacked the year is, I have to draw a distinction. It's going to be B tier. Next thing is going to be Edwards winning the trilogy against Kamaru Usman. Now, we can talk all the shit we want over his last title defense against Colby Covington. Was not a great fight. I blame Colby for most of it, but Leon's to blame for some of it. You should be able to take out Colby Covington. But whatever, we're not going to talk about that. Edwards beating Kamaru Usman in the second fight is genuinely one of the best finishes of all time. That is a Rocky story, dude. Like, the amount of edits that have been made, the amount of documentaries that have been made about Leon Edwards on YouTube are insane. And bro deserves every bit of this marketing that he is getting, both from the UFC and the fans, because bro has a good heart. He deserves this. And then he goes into the third fight. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I rarely will ever give myself credit for a prediction because it's a prediction. It's whatever. But I predicted that Leon Edwards was going to take it to a 5-round unanimous decision for one reason. The second fight was at altitude. Jeez. Was at altitude. And Leon Edwards was able to make it 5 rounds. I understand he was getting outworked, but Kamaru Usman trains at elevation. Bro's team is named Team Elevation. What do you think? So when the third fight rolls around and I find out that this is going to be way closer to sea level, what I'm saying to myself is Leon Edwards has the cardio to win this fight. Kamaru Usman just got flatline KO for the first time in his entire career, while Leon Edwards was able to take him down and destroy his 100% takedown defense rate. Mentally, that has to fuck with you. I know it did, and in the third fight, I knew he was going to win a unanimous decision. One of the craziest moments of 2023. Vastly underrated. However, because this year is just so crazy, it's a C tier. But now we're going to get back to another A tier. I've already spoiled it, but when I tell you what it is, you're going to understand why. FrancisZanu being able to knock down Tyson Fury. Bro. This is the biggest L boxing has ever taken. And y'all need to sit there and take this L, because we have been clowned. Us MMA fans have been clowned for the past 5 years by the Paul brothers, by Floyd Mayweather, by any other boxer that thinks they can take on any MMA fighter. We've had to take that. So I'm gonna milk this a bit. FrancisZanu, one of the least technical strikers in the entirety of the UFC heavyweight division. I said least technical. He is the most powerful boxer ever, including Deontay Wilder, because Deontay Wilder has underrated technique. Francis still doesn't have great technique and was able to knock down your best guy. Best guy in heavyweight. Best guy. This is an A tier. I don't know if it's going to be the biggest moment, but it's definitely up there. Francis Ngannou proves the boxing world wrong, proves the MMA world wrong, gets the bag, changes the course of his entire combat sports career. Absolutely insane. A tier. Next up is Justin Gaethje becomes the BMF of the world. Now, the reason that this made the list is, first off, Justin Gaethje, for whatever reason, wasn't the favorite here. Now, the reason that I chose Justin Gaethje to win this fight is because Justin Gaethje has improved drastically since the first Dustin Poirier fight. And Dustin Poirier, I think, has plateaued. Like, frankly. And what I mean by plateaued, I'm not saying that he's lost at all. Current Dustin Poirier is still one of the best fighters in the lightweight division. But Justin Gaethje, a calm and collected Justin Gaethje, is the new mythical fighter, man. Gets a head kick KO for the first time in his entire career and wins the BMF belt. And the whole reason that the BMF belt was on the line to begin with is because, one, Jorge Masvidal retired, and Dustin Poirier is one of his training partners. He planned on giving the BMF title away to Dustin Poirier because he's his friend. So imagine his, are you kidding me, when Justin Gaethje wins the rematch after not being a favorite. And for that reason, I mean, again, it's a C tier, but the reason it's a C tier is just how stacked this year is. That's a testament to how good 2023 has been. Next up, the Grasso upset. Now, whatever your opinion is on their last fight, Alexa Grasso winning the title the way she did is genuinely one of the best moments in the entirety of women's MMA. Right up there with Joanna Jędrzejczyk's reign. Right up there. I was going to say Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. But the fact is, the reason that the Grasso versus Shevchenko fight is better than the Pena versus Nunes fight is because Nunes didn't really train for that. So we weren't seeing the best version of her. And Pena just isn't that good, frankly. While Grasso and Shevchenko are both elite level fighters. And Grasso wins by the way that we expected her to lose, via submission. Honestly, it's hard to underrate this. Although this is not going to be the S tier, it is the biggest moment in the entirety of women's MMA for the year of 2023. If you haven't seen the fight, please consider a watch. It's a phenomenal fight. And I got to put it in B tier. But think about this. It's above the Justin Gaethje BMF belt win. Next up is the tough Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. E tier. What a shitty season, bro. I have lost faith in The Ultimate Fighter, and that hurts me, because The Ultimate Fighter Season 13, Lesnar versus Dos Santos, that's what got me into MMA. Tony Ferguson won that, by the way. But that's the season that got me into it, and to see The Ultimate Fighter have to resort to using Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler only for that season to really be a bomb. I'm going to be real. I watched the debut in the second episode at day one when it dropped. Every other one, I watched it like a week afterwards, man. I was not a huge fan of this one. I honestly don't know what to say. I think you need to retire The Ultimate Fighter, but I don't think they're going to do that because they've already planned to do another season this year. So, I've lost faith in the Ultimate Fighter. I think Dana White Contender Series is going to be the new thing. And the only reason that the Ultimate Fighter is still around, by the way, is because it is the reality show that kept the UFC in business. But understand, when it dropped, that's when shows like Survivor and Big Brother were the biggest things on television. So no shit the Ultimate Fighter was going to do well. So that's why it's going in E tier. Still cool. Missed opportunity. Next up is going to be the Nunes retirement. I don't even think that this is going to be a controversial opinion, but the Nunes retirement, understand, before I say what I'm about to say, Amanda Nunes is the best MMA fighter, no, best women's MMA fighter of all time. I say again, Amanda Nunes is the best women's MMA fighter of all time. C tier. Do I really need to go on? It's C tier. What a shitty card it was. I mean, like, I don't even know what else to say about it. As much as I like Amanda Nunes, she really is the only women's fighter that you could argue should be a main event. But I'm going to be real with you. Her being the main event, the card wasn't good. It just wasn't. C tier, best women's MMA fighter of all time. Still C tier. That's it. Next up is going to be Aspinall wins the interim belt. Now, the only reason that this is not going to be a B tier, it is a C tier, by the way, is because you find out that the interim title means fucking nothing. Like, that's what I've learned from this whole thing, because if you don't know, Dana White has confirmed that no matter what, Aspinall won't get the chance to fight Stipe and won't get the chance to fight Jon Jones. The next fight for the undisputed title is going to be Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic in fucking September. Yeah. And he also threw in a little shot there, and it says, if Tom Aspinall wants to keep complaining about not being active, we can find him a fight. What that means is, hey, Tom Aspinall, quit bitching about fighting Jon Jones and Stipe, or we're going to make you defend the interim against Cyril Gane. Kind of a deucey move, I'm not even going to lie. It's C tier. He did it on short notice, but the UFC fumbled so hard, and it just ruined the moment, honestly. The next thing we're going to go over is going to be the Lawler retirement. Bro retired on a win. Understand, Robbie Lawler is the last dude in Robbie Lawler is the last dude in the entirety of MMA that I thought was going to retire on a win. And for him to do it and look amazing in his final fight and have the discipline to stick to his word and retire. They prepared a whole promo, and I'll tell you this right now. There's only been two times in the entirety of MMA where I've actually, like, tears have drowned from my eyes. And it was when Robbie Lawler watched this promo, man. That was sad. Robbie Lawler's a fucking legend, veteran of the sport, deserves all the praise that you can give him. It's vastly underrated by the most new MMA fans, but I don't blame you. He's before your time. And this is going to sound very contradictory, but I put it in D tier just because it is a crazy moment. But let's be real. Is it really compared to anything that's in A tier or B tier or even really C tier? Like, those are championship upsets. It's in D tier. I love you, Lawler, though. Last one is another retirement, and in all honesty, I might move this one up. The Korean Zombie retirement. The only reason I put it in D tier is because he lost to Max Holloway. And don't get me wrong, he looked pretty good. But whoever gave the Korean Zombie Max Holloway for his final fight needs to get fired. I hope you get hit by a bus, brother. Because what did bro do to you? Bro's trying to retire. You made the fight in Singapore. Why'd you have to give a Max Holloway, the least hateable fighter in the UFC, in one of the most unwinnable matchups in MMA history, right after bro just got done getting tuned up by Volkanovski? His Volkanovski fight is genuinely one of the most painful to watch MMA fights I've ever seen. Up there with O'Malley and Moicano. Yeah, you deserve... I hope you get jumped, brother. TKZ retirement, another D tier just because it was sad. Now, I have to pick an A tier. Our choices, our candidates. And at this point, feel free to pause the video and put what your S tier is. The Jones Return, Son becoming champion. Oh my lord, I can't believe I forgot this one. Strickland beating Israel Adesanya. Let's go back for a second. Strickland beating Israel Adesanya is an A tier. Self-explanatory. He knocked him down in the first round, not a fluke win, walked him down for 5 rounds straight, and becomes the middleweight champion of the world. That's one of our candidates. I'm so sorry I forgot that. But let's get back to it. Strickland becoming champion, another candidate. Francis versus Fury, and I think that's going to be it. That's all my A tiers. Of those, if I had to go off my reaction to it, it's between Son Strickland becoming champion and the Jones return. That's tough. Okay. I'm going to have to go with... I'm leaning towards the Jones return, just because that is going to be one of the most replayed moments in the entirety of MMA, especially if Jones retires. But understand that it is a razor-thin margin between Strickland becoming champion and Jones coming back. I think the fact that it was a comeback fight after the Dominic Reyes fight, it pushes it to S tier for me. But there you go. That's my biggest moments of MMA in the year of 2023. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. What should have been S tier? What should have been A tier? And with that out of the way, adios, guys.